Yes, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, tankers of Blitz Universe, to the channel. We're gonna have a bit of a random tank talk today, not so much of a review of gameplay or a review of a premium tank or a map guide or anything, just my thoughts on the upcoming update 6.9. And update 6.9, update 69, that's gonna be a massive one. And that's not due to the fact that we're getting the Hori tank, the type. The T10 Hori and the Hori T2 and the Hori T1 and the Cheeto SPG. It's not about that, because that's just new tanks in the game, and all in all these look fairly balanced. Don't quote me on that, but if it's going to be non-balanced, but it seems that the Hori has a lot of weaknesses. It has some really good traits, but more than enough weaknesses to counter that. But there will be massive changes to tier 10. And obviously Blitz has gone through massive changes before. When I started playing the game in December 2014, we still had +2, -2 matchmaking, and that meant that you could be in a stock T44 or a Pershing, and then you would have to face up against a mouse or an E100 or a Jagdpanzer E100. That would really teach you a lot about retaining your health and flanking, etc. But sometimes you would just get ruffle stomped because, yeah, a Pershing would take about 3 hits from one of those big guns at tier 10 to hit you and then practically delete you. That was changed, the +1, -1 matchmaking. We've had to change in ammo. Premium ammo doing less damage for improved penetration. It's not you can't just get the gold, load the gold and be able to retain your DPM. We all know that if you shoot premium ammo you do less damage, but it used to be the same damage. So that was another massive change as well, because medium tanks were supposed to flank a little bit more. Then we had to change with the spare parts and the change in terms of equipment. That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. You would have to wait a freaking 2 weeks to be able to play a fully equipped, unlocked tier 10 tank. You would have gone through the grind and the suffering and the pain of bad teams and stock tanks. And then you would get your tier 10 tank and you would have to wait 2 weeks. But it wasn't just for tier 10, it was for basically every equipment slot that you unlocked. It would require you to wait or shell out gold and buy your way into a fully equipped tank. No, it was a disaster. It was a complete disaster. But some of these things with the new equipment also changed the meta quite a bit. Because you have calibrated shells, and that means that you do more penetration on your rounds, and that is a good thing, but that changes the meta as well, because you would have tanks that would be able to do a lot of damage on AP shots, 640 Alpha for example, and then they would already have good penetration, and then they would gain a little bit more, so that penetration becomes even better. And all these changes, they are good, obviously. They are needed, because if a game doesn't change at all, it becomes stagnant. It becomes less desirable to play for new players, for veteran players as well. You have to have something fresh and lightning in there. And I'm not quite sure if the change with the ATG M tanks was needed. According to Wargaming, what they said on stream, well, the changes that we're going to make to tier 10 in update 6.9, we've had that planned for quite some time. It isn't due to the ATG Ms performing really well. Some say it's broken, and I think they are. And it's not the tanks themselves so much. Maybe T92E1 with that front plate is pretty broken. It has been nerfed, but still it is a bit too strong for a light tank. But it's mostly the mechanics of those missiles. And you could think that these changes to the tier 10 heavy tanks we're going to talk about in this video, that they are due to the ATG M tanks performing really well. But according to Wargaming, such is not the case, and I do believe them, because I've been to a Twister Cup in 2017 in Minsk, and they do have a roadmap. Believe it or not, they do have a roadmap. They try to look at the tanks, they try to figure out what to do and to basically get a line. You just get a line, set some dots, some goals. I'm going to change this and that, and we're going to keep monitoring the data on and on through multiple patches, and then we will sort it out. It's not that they change things just because of one patch and because of one little tank being broken or overperforming. But what are they planning? Well, Giraffe here clears at WZ120, gets 6 kills, nearly suffocate damage in the E100. This wasn't a really big one in terms of blocking damage, but you could see that a big hit point pool will come in handy if needed. And sometimes you do need a big hit point pool. And it's those big HE pools which are going to be changed in update 6.9. All the heavy tanks currently in the game, including the Super Conqueror, which is being tested, they do get a buff in terms of HP. And as you can see, I'm flashing up the numbers over here, and I'm not just going to read it out. You can check that for yourself on Blitzhanger, and after the game has been released, it's going to be there. But, as said, Wargaming have made changes to the game earlier, and that means that an IS-7 currently can already get quite a substantial hit point pool, same as the mouse, because you get that added assembly. If we're looking at the British tank, the FV215B, which gets a bit of a lower added hit point pool, a lower buff, that one has that sandbag armor, of which it can fit 2. You will use 2 provision slots for that, but you can already increase the hit points on the FV215B, so that increase is a little bit less. But what we will be seeing, at least that's my opinion, we will be seeing a lot more heavy platoons that just stick together and push that flank. And that means that the tanks will be pressed more into their roles, basically. Now, in the current meta, it can be very worthwhile to just go with your medium tanks towards the heavy alley, towards the heavy routes, and just stay there, go hull down, make the heavy miss one shot, maybe even bounce on your turret, and then you can roll in, unleash Hell Maximus with DPM, with Adrenaline, maybe even with a platoon mate, and clear out those heavy tanks, especially if it's a T-57 Heavy or an AMX-50B who has pushed the flank alone and is there sitting on a reload. You can just wipe them out with your DPM. And all these numbers, they have not been just chosen just by throwing a dart at a dartboard. It's not just that they pick 300 added hit points for a T125. They have probably been looking at the data, Wargaming, and they have been looking and they have been figuring out what does a T125 need to be competitive in that new meta that we want to be in the game, that we want to develop, that we want to press in there. And a mouse platoon can be very terrifying already, but when a mouse platoon has 3000 hit points per tank stock, the amount of hit points it will get when it has provisions, oh my word, that is going to be insane. You'll be looking at 3180 hit points per mouse, and that means that a platoon of mice, a platoon of mice will have 6,360 hit points. That is an awful lot. It really is an awful lot. So, if you're then driving around in your very strong Object 140 Russian Tier 10 medium tank, then it would take you quite some time to chew through a mouse. You would literally need to be shooting one full minute with AP and not miss a single shot. If you would be firing your heat, it will allow you to go through a mouse a little bit quicker, but that would cut into your DPM, so you would need to shoot like 1 minute and 20 seconds constantly on the reload. That's just not going to work. I mean, There are Muppets in the game, there are stupid players in the game, but it's not going to work if you have to shoot a tank like 2 minutes constantly. And we're looking at Mateusz over here in the IS-7, and he's having a good game so far. You can see what he has been doing in terms of bouncing, and he is going to survive by the skin of his teeth. And the E4 makes a bit of a move towards base C, and is that a good idea? He is now around B cap. He is going to go back, yes, and you can wait for it. There it is. Sheridan is capping A. Sucks to be you. T124 is going back towards A, but spoiler alert, he will not going to be able to get there. What we will be seeing here, of what we are seeing here, will be games that will become a lot more common in World of Tanks Blitz once 6.9 hits, and that's not me talking about the fact that they lose on Supremacy just because that clock hits 1000. It is about the fact that you have a really strong heavy tank that Mateusz was driving here, the IS-7, and that will be in a platoon, and then they will just ruffle stomp one flank. And it will take some time for that meta to change. Well, what is going to happen, and of course you can never be 100% sure, but what is going to happen at first will be the type of gameplay that you often have on normally. You get a light tank, you get a few medium tanks, they go towards B cap, they poke over the ridge, take one shot, and they take about, I'd say, a fifth of the health of a heavy tank. If they are a Sheridan with a big gun, and maybe if a platoon of medium tanks will go over that ridge. Progetto, for example, fire 2 shots, penetrate 3 shots, penetrate 2, and take a lot of health off these heavy tanks pushing in. And you can see what those mediums are doing there. They are just bundling up, cluster of mediums in the middle, few mediums at the back at spawn 2, at green spawn 2, and some tank destroyers at the back. What we will be seeing once 6.9 hits is this type of gameplay that Spartan Leopard is doing here in the IS-4 together with the IS-7. Push one flank, go forward, and juke it out with all the heavy tanks of the red team. And he bounces a shot from the Conqueror. He is going to wiggle one shot and then bounce that one as well. But you can see there's 350 blocked from a medium tank. Not a shot blocked from the Conqueror. IS-7 takes him out. But this guy, who is in a Progetto, he's in the wrong spot now, and he's going to get killed, and he's trying to shoot as much as possible, do as much damage as possible. But he is in that current meta where it can be worthwhile to just sit in a position, support your heavy tank with a medium, and just by sheer DPM you will be able to take a heavy out. That is going to change. Tanks like this one, the M48 pattern, they will have a bit of a problem in 6.9 because there will be so much more hit points to chew through. There will be a big change as well in requirements for aces. That's going to go up skyrocketing. The Hall of Fames will be just shredded. They will be crushed. I mean, because only this tank that Spartan Leopard is shooting here through the cupola, the FV215B, that one gets 100 added hit points, and all the other heavy tanks get at least 300. So there's a lot more of HP on offer. Hall of Fames will be crushed, ace bars, big damage games, that's all going to change. And what's also going to change, I think, is the amount of flanking needed for medium tanks. That will take some adjusting for people. There will be a lot more players sitting in the back. Ooh, and we've got 4 heavy tanks. Let me just wait and see. There will be a lot more camping. There will be a lot more camping with tank destroyers because they have the guns to really punish the heavies, but their hit point pools aren't as big as the heavy tanks. They aren't as big of heavy tanks as of now, but they will be. The gap will be even bigger. So there will be more flanking by medium tanks, hopefully. There will be more camping by TDs, pretty much guaranteed. And there will be a lot more heavy tank brawling meta in Update 6.9 in World of Tanks Blitz. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And I'll catch you all on the next video. Cheers and happy tanking.